Hey everybody, I'm here with Adrian,
Hey Internet.
and this is the first in a new series called Get to Know, in which I ask each of the Say What Now cast members to pick a game, and we'll just kind of talk a bit about it, ask some questions, and basically get to know each other a little bit better and help you to kind of connect with them all. So, Adrian, thank you for joining me.
No problem.
How are you doing today?
I'm really good, thanks.
That's lovely. So you picked Mass Effect 3.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, how many hours do you reckon you've spent playing this game?
Well, it's probably going to be in triple figures.
That's, if I may say so, that is quite ridiculous.
Yeah, I may have played quite a bit of multiplayer on this, so I'm probably over 300, maybe nearing to 400 hours in Mass Effect 3. But that isn't that dissimilar. I mean, I spent once 200 plus hours in a Kingdom Hearts 2 game on the PS2. Yeah.
I didn't even know you could spend that long on a Kingdom Hearts game.
A lot of grinding. There was a lot of grinding.
Right, okay. Yeah, because I played Kingdom Hearts 1, but just kind of got past the beach.
Yeah, yeah, no, that was understandable because some of the tutorial parts in some Japanese games, certainly Kingdom Hearts 2, they took a little while and it was slightly annoying at some parts. But then when you got past it, it was like it was really good. I think if I remember correctly, I spent a lot of time grinding because I was trying to make it easier for myself when I went to fight the Sephiroth.
Right, yeah.
I can't pronounce that name. The bad guy.
I've never heard that pronounced in real life ever.
Final Fantasy VII. Yeah, that guy. The guy, long hair, big sword. Doesn't like Cloud. That one. So I'm terrible with names.
So why did you pick Mass Effect 3?
Mass Effect 3 is one of those games I will try and find time to play during the week because the multiplayer has an aspect to it where the more games you play, the higher the galactic readiness rating that your account has. So that obviously ranges between a default of 50% if you don't play the multiplayer aspect of the game, and 100% maximum. And the way that works is in conjunction with war assets, which you collect by doing main story missions and side missions in the single player campaign. You combine that with your galactic readiness rating, which is linked to your multiplayer, then that calculates your effective military strength, which then determines what kind of ending you can get at the end of your single player campaign. So I think that's a very good combination of the single and multiplayer elements to a game.
Because I feel that the danger is when you've got like a single player game like Uncharted or Bioshock, and then you kind of tack on multiplayer. It doesn't. Well, it feels tacked on.
Yeah. It's certainly like they're just doing multiplayer for the sake of multiplayer, like they're jumping on that bandwagon. But certainly in this one, they've worked it really well, such that the story, basically the premise of having bloody fucking God, it's just one big kind of melee fight there that got a bit silly. The whole point of this multiplayer is it's meant to tell the story which goes beyond what the single player campaign is kind of telling, because the single player campaign is about Commander Shepard. It's about his ship, the Normandy, and its crew and your teammates. But the multiplayer is about the war in general. It's about there's millions of humans, and that's an Atlas mech that is a bit of a bitch, but it's dealable. It's quite slow. It's powerful but slow. Okay. So you have to duck whenever there's a rocket coming at you. Yeah. Luckily, it's not aiming me at this point. But there are millions, potentially billions, even trillions of humans and aliens all fighting for their existence in this galaxy against the Reapers in the third game. So you can easily have a multiplayer aspect and explore. Right,
so it's quite plausible this would be happening.
Yeah, this would be quite plausible. This would be happening in the Mass Effect universe, because it's not just Commander Shepard versus the Reapers. It's his story against the Reapers in the single player, but the multiplayer explores other people fighting for their existence, fighting for the freedom of their worlds, fighting for against their very extinction. So. Against their extinction, sorry, not for extinction. Against their extinction. So having that that premise really helps explain and gives reason to the multiplayer in this case, rather than just going, yeah, you're just running around as Nathan Drake shooting people randomly on a map.
Right. Yeah.
For an explorer indie type, Indiana Jones type person, he's quite the mass murderer.
Yeah, you could say that. But it's no secret that you're quite the fan of the Mass Effect series.
No, it's not a secret at all. No.
But you were telling me that you only joined in on the second game.
Yeah,
which I was quite surprised about.
No, that's the thing is that when I was waiting for because I put was my Xbox 360 to arrive, I just randomly picked up a copy of Mass Effect 2 on the cheap. I mean, it had already been out for about probably a good 4 or 5 months by this point, and
right.
I just picked up a cheap copy for the PC, and I started playing it, and I was just so taken back by how good the game was. So I've been a huge fan ever since. I've been looking forward to Mass Effect 3, and it hasn't really disappointed, if I'm honest.
Right. So how many times would you say you've played through the story of any of the Mass Effects?
Mass Effect 2 I've played a lot, just because there isn't a multiplayer element like there is in Mass Effect 3. So I probably just waiting for Mass Effect 3 after I've played it a few times before, and then just literally waiting for Mass Effect 3 to be released. I must have completed Mass Effect 2 probably a good dozen times.
Right.
And it's not a short game.
Yeah, I was going to say.
You're probably looking at about 50, 60 hours, and I'm pretty much doing all the side quests as well.
Okay. So
it's just exploring all the different options so you can import your Mass Effect 2 game into your Mass Effect 3 game. So it's having all those options. So it's whether it's the different love interests, or maybe you had a Paragon run through compared to Renegade run through. So your decisions might be different in those senses. So it's having the options to do that, and I did that for both my PC version of the game as well as my Xbox 360 versions of the game. So yeah.
Okay, so you've got both.
I have Mass Effect 2 on both, and I have Mass Effect 3 on both platforms. Yes.
Okay, because I have Mass Effect 2 on PlayStation 3.
Yep.
And let's see. I'm gonna say I got like a quarter of the way through.
Right.
Maybe, and then I just kind of stopped. This is a running theme with games, that I get a short way through and then just kind of drift off.
Yeah, we'll just ask Joe about you in trying to play Halo 4 co-op.
Jeez, we need to finish that. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I liked the story. I liked how it was very involving.
Duck! Didn't duck in time.
Jeez, that to me that feels terrifying.
That's the guy. It's down. It's fine.
Okay, cool. But things I didn't like about it were load times.
Yeah.
Anytime you're in the ship and
Yeah,
that annoyed me, and I felt that the combat was just a bit. I don't know. Not. I don't know how to describe. Not really clunky. Well, maybe clunky, but. See, that's one of the reasons why I haven't gone back and played Mass Effect 1, is because I keep hearing that it's all clunky and Mass Effect 2 is a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And if I am not really getting to grips with Mass Effect 2, then Mass Effect 1 will be really hard for me, I think.
I've not really heard the complaint that Mass Effect 2 is clunky. Certainly, yeah, Mass Effect 1, from experience, because like I said, I came into the franchise playing Mass Effect 2 and then went back to play Mass Effect 1 and found it was pretty clunky in comparison. But at least the PC version, you could remap some of the buttons to the PC Mass Effect 2 controls on Mass Effect 1, so that was some benefit. But I've not really heard the argument that the Mass Effect 2 things is clunky. I've heard it's more kind of tightened up, and it acts well. The complaints are that with Mass Effect 2, it feels less like an RPG, but more of a third-person shooter at the end of the day. And I think some fans were kind of slightly disappointed the lack of customability in terms of powers and loadouts and stuff like that. So I'm not really heard. I've heard that one. But I that's your own opinion, and it's.
I think
just valid.
it might be because I don't know, like I'm expecting or I'm trying to play it like a third-person shooter, and maybe it's not built that way. And I don't know. It's been a long time since I played it, so I can't really remember. Might just have to turn the sensitivity up or something. But yeah, going on. Well, staying with the Mass Effect topic. Have you looked into any of the books or anything surrounding the games that talks about the Mass Effect universe or storylines or anything like that?
Yes, I've certainly read quite a few of the graphic novels.
Right.
I haven't read the books as such, but they do the books and the graphic novels. They are very good in exploring the rich sort of backstory of not just kind of the main focus of the main games, which is Commander Shepard and the Normandy, but in terms of a lot of secondary characters you come across in the game. So there are books about in the past, pre Mass Effect 1, where you're looking, you're dealing with the main protagonists of the books are, for example, is David Anderson, who's the captain, and then Admiral Anderson later in the series, and his kind of past and his dealings with the Mass Effect 1 antagonist, Saren Arturius. So that's certainly quite enlightening, as well as the graphic novels, which help sometimes bridge the gaps in between the games. So there were certainly graphic novels bridging between Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2, as well as between 2 and Mass Effect 3. So those are also very useful in terms of tying over the plot line as to what's been happening in the meantime between the end of 2 and the end of 3, for example. But again, the books and the other graphic novels kind of introduce new characters into the storyline, which ultimately some of them actually ended up appearing in Mass Effect 3. So they kind of got brought out from just in literary form, and then actually made appearance in the games. So it's really useful. Another kind of very useful outlet to create kind of evolving and fleshing out this rich universe that BioWare have created. Right,
and I enjoyed, because I got Mass Effect 2 on the PS3. It came free with the kind of interactive comic book.
Yes,
thing.
That's the Mass Effect Genesis DLC, which is also available for Xbox 360 and PC.
I thought that was a good way to allow people like me who hadn't played the first game to make the decisions.
Yeah.
But not have to go back and play a long game.
No, absolutely, it's great. I mean, that thing would probably take 15 minutes, which is better than having to spend a good 20 hours. Or even if you want to do a speed run of Mass Effect 1. And choosing sort of the main plot, the main major decisions, and from the plot of the first game, it certainly helps rather than having to.
You were so close to dying there.
Yeah, it's fine. I had it handled. It does save you from having to accept the sort of the default decisions that are kind of made up for you if you just do a vanilla start to your game.
Yeah.
So because I think there are interactive comics for Mass Effect 2, which give you the plot, give you decisions to make for Mass Effect 1, and similarly for Mass Effect 3, there is the Genesis 2 DLC, which essentially gives you the major plot points for both Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2.
I didn't know that existed.
That does. I think they introduced that quite late on. So if you just have a copy of Mass Effect 3, then you can still create a game for the beginning of 1 where they'll go through the plots of Mass Effect 1 and 2, and they'll give you the choice to make on the kind of the major decisions throughout those two games.
Okay, that's good to know, actually.
Yeah, it's great.
I remember looking at the trailers for Mass Effect 3 when Shepard's in the Big Ben or something like that.
Yeah, there's the sniper in Big Ben.
Right, yeah, and I was thinking, wow, this looks so cool. But then I didn't finish Mass Effect 2, and I guess I could go back to it now with this comic thing. That might be a... Yeah,
that can certainly help. Yeah. At least entice you to play those games, because you're not feeling like you're missing out on certainly the major decisions. I mean, if you're really invested in the universe, that's stupid Nemesis. They've got shields and they're bloody sniping and so
Fucking
annoying.
nightmare.
Actually, they're some of the lesser annoying characters or enemies that you're going to encounter in this multiplayer. But yeah, if it means you can go and if those DLCs mean you can come to the universe without thinking that you're missing out on things in the game by not playing the first two games, then by all means, I think that's only a good thing. I mean, you can play the first two games and you can get a little bit more carryover if you're really heavily invested in the actual universe, in terms of, there are maybe minor decisions which you'll see a little bit of consequence in both 2 and 3 respectively. So it's so your choice, but certainly they do give you the choice of being able to play Mass Effect 3, but also allowing you to still having made those choices in Mass Effect 1 and 2 without actually playing them.
That's good for lazy people like me.
Yeah, could save you a good number of hours.
Yeah. Well, if it's you, a good 500 hours.
Yeah, something like that.
But moving away from Mass Effect slightly, talking about comics, we mentioned comics.
Yes.
I get the feeling, from what I've heard and what you've been saying for the year that I've known you, that you're a bit of a comic guy.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, I own quite a few graphic novels. I could say that. I'm predominantly reading sort of DC comics, I'm honest. I find that when I started having that one single universe of kind of continuity was certainly helped. Yeah, in terms of you understanding. Then they rejigged it with Flashpoint, and there's the new 52 event where there is probably new universes out there and everything. These big comic events seem to be they seem to run them every year or every 2 years, which seems like it's almost like the standard thing to do. Like when a movie franchise gets old, we end up rebooting it, sort of thing. Yeah. I mean, like I say, I read a lot of that, but my favorite comic character of all time is Deadpool, which is a Marvel character. So I just love his witty humor, his kind of fourth wall breaking antics, and it's just the plain nuts of the guy.
Right. Yeah, and because you've been going on about Deadpool, and I've heard such great things, I've been getting into the comics a bit.
Good.
And I got the one with Cable.
Yeah, Cable and Deadpool. Yeah,
I'm quite interested in Cable now as well, actually. And then I got like a few which combine certain stories. I'm not really sure what they are, I'm sorry. But I also got one where Deadpool kills everyone in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
And one where he kills everyone in, well, not everyone, but people in the like kind of literary universe. So like Sherlock Holmes, which I think sounds really fun.
That was kind of embarrassing.
Mash spacebar. Mash.
Yeah, mash. I'm just hoping somebody comes along. There you go. I'm fine. I had it covered. Kind of. So. But
yeah, so you have. I mean, I've got you to thank for the rather large hole burnt in my wallet from.
Yeah, I'll take. I don't mind taking responsibility for that, as long as I don't have to pay for that rather large hole in your wallet.
Yeah. Well, do you ever go down to Forbidden Planet?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's the Forbidden Planet on Shaftesbury Avenue in London. I go there most times when I'm in London just to see what they have.
Should not be allowed in that store with more than £10 because I always just buy. Anyway, well, enough of that.
Yeah.
How did you kind of get into comic books?
Really, it was, I think, well, it kind of really started with more manga. When I was really, really young, I think I was probably about 5, maybe 6, 7. I came across some Dragon Ball manga and graphic novels, but they were still in Japanese. So I couldn't actually read them. So it was a bit difficult, but I was so enraptured by the art style. And I was most of the time I was guessing what was happening in the story, but I could love looking at the pictures, and I loved the kind of the clean art lines and just appreciating that particular kind of art style.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about like comic books and visual things, is that you should, well, I guess this is my opinion, but you should be able to know what's going on in the story, and you should be able to kind of figure everything out just by the pictures.
Yeah.
And so there's comic books like Gon, who was a character in like Tekken 3, I think, on the PS1.
Was he the little dinosaur?
Little dinosaur?
Yeah.
Like, he has a manga, and there's like no words in it at all. Weirdly, I never actually read it, even though it had no words. But yeah, I went through a bit of a manga phase, and I remember when I was like a young kid, and oh my gosh, Card Captors. Do you know Card Captors?
I'm
like
aware
Card
of them.
Captors Sakura.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
That was on TV when I was like a little kid, and that and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh. Like I really liked the anime art style. I didn't know what it was at that point, and I was thinking, what is this? Like they all look the same. What's going on? Like what is this? And then finally in a newspaper, I found like an ad for a book on how to draw manga, and I was like, wow, that's it.
Yeah.
And I was really excited, but I got it wrong, and I thought it was Magna. So I was looking for these Magna books, which obviously don't exist, but somehow I managed to, find it eventually, and then I just started reading a lot of manga. But my favourite one was Case Closed, which, have you heard of that?
No, I haven't heard of that.
That's it's similar to, it's like a mystery type thing, similar to like the Sherlock Holmes short stories. And in fact, the guy, the main protagonist, is called Conan, named after.
Oh,
Arthur
I've heard of
Doyle.
Conan. Yeah, I've heard of Conan. He's like a little, he's like a little kid, but he's an adult, but trapped in a kid's body.
Yeah,
isn't he?
yeah. I
So,
think the anime or something like in America is called Conan or something like that. But yeah, that was kind of my favorite one. So going back to games for a little bit. What is your favourite game? I'm guessing it's something Mass Effect.
Yes, yeah, you'd be correct in guessing that one. It is actually Mass Effect 2. That's
Right.
my favorite. That's my favorite game of all time, just because it's such a great piece of computer game storytelling. Each little mission is like a kind of a great vignette of storytelling, even with or without the cutscenes. The voice acting is great, and the textures are really, really good. So I really love that from the plot and storytelling point of view.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I definitely enjoyed that part about it, and how it was really kind of immersive for me. There was like a lot to get into. Would you say like that's the kind of game that you go for normally, like big, kind of broad story-driven games?
Yeah, certainly something I can get kind of immersed in.
Right.
Something that is something that's rich and kind of well thought out and fleshed out. Like this, it certainly is very, very easy to lose yourself and become very, very heavily invested in the game's lore and universes. That's why I think maybe in terms of my games, I kind of tend towards sort of RPGs sort of things, so I can actually kind of get properly immersed, and get to know these characters, and get really my hands dirty in the universe and getting to know what it is like, and having that connection with these fictional folk.
But then when it's over, it seems to me like it's worse, because you're feeling like you're leaving behind this whole like world and characters. Like I remember seeing Avatar. Like many people say, oh, it's just Pocahontas in space. But
we're talking the James Cameron movie.
Yeah,
not the last
Airbender,
Airbender. That is actually a good television series. Actually, film is terrible, but the good television series.
I just found out it's on Netflix actually, so I was going to start watching it.
Yeah, I recommend you do. It's really good.
But yeah, I remember at the end of that film thinking like I just want to be in that world. Like it was really immersive, and I think like people committed suicide. Apparently.
Yeah, I heard about that. Oh, wait, hang on. I'm having a bit of issues here.
Dear.
This is a Phantom. This is, as you can see, having issues. I died as a result of it, but they're very annoying. They're very acrobatic. They jump all over the place, and they
look like they're impossible to hit.
Yeah, they're always very skinny, and they're always jumping around the place, and they can go invisible. And plus, they have like a one-hit kill, which means basically if they stab you with their sword, you can't be revived by your teammates. And you have to wait for your teammates to complete the wave until you can get auto-res. But luckily, they only whittle down my shields and health, so I managed to res myself with some Medigel, med pack essentially. So this is where I'm going to get my revenge.
Nice.
Yep.
Hubris right there.
Right there.
So yeah, talking of endings and ending oneself.
Yes.
How did you? What did you think of the ending for this game?
I didn't really have much of a problem with it, but I will take the diplomatic approach and say that I understand why people would be upset. I think BioWare gave a lot of their fans the illusion of choice that they could do from the beginning of the series, because obviously the plot is kind of branching out from the beginning of Mass Effect 1, and if they want to obviously close off this trilogy, they've got to kind of close a lot of the many subplot lines they've created as a result of themselves. So they can't have they can't code for as many unique different endings as they have for players and different customizable characters which have been created by their fan base. So they've kind of got to generalize it all. I mean, maybe generalizing into 3 endings, which looks quite kind of similar, and people might argue is only distinguishable by the color of the explosion at the end. Can criticize on that part, but at least they listened to fan feedback, and I mean, then they released a free bit of DLC called the Extended Cut, which
personally, I don't feel that they needed to do that.
No, they didn't have to, but they felt that they wanted to listen to fans and keep the fact. I mean, they were obviously they understood the fans that gave them constructive feedback and say, well, there were plot holes in the end, so the Extended Cut explained the plot holes and filled those in as well. It gave them more closure in terms of a little bit of epilogue at the end, so you saw a little glimpse of what maybe what your teammates are doing in a little bit further down the line in future after the end of the game. So it did give that option, because you have to remember there's quite a number of different combinations you can. Oh, here you go. I'm just reviving a fallen teammate.
There we go.
Yep.
It's Samaritan.
Yep. Getting rid of this guy. But yeah, there's so many different combinations of which teammates survived, and which the choices you made all throughout the 3 games. So it's hard to go and make a completely customizable ending to fit everybody's kind of custom.
It's impossible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's impossible. Yeah. So they kind of have to kind of streamline everything, and I think they've more than covered it with the Extended Cut. And people might be disappointed by the endings, but they have to remember that it's not. I definitely have to tell myself this a lot of times, especially when I'm watching like Japanese anime, because sometimes the endings can be disappointing in that. But it's not about the ending. It's not all about the ending. It's about the journey you go on, and the fact you've been on a journey with 3 really fantastic games, where the storyline has kind of culminated into the ending of this, in this trilogy. Don't be disappointed that maybe the ending didn't quite live up to it. But you spent dozens of hours, in my case hundreds of hours playing the Mass Effect games, all 3 of them. You enjoyed and you pretty much enjoyed every single bit of it. So I think fans should take heart to that. So
yeah, I agree. Well, thank you, Adrian, for joining me.
No problem.
It's been great, and see you all later.
See you guys.